Hey everyone, welcome to 2.5 Gays, the all-inclusive podcast from a modern-day millennial queen. I'm Quinlan,
I'm Dino.
I'm Emily.
aka
also JJ.
JJ's double.
So JJ's unwell again, and unfortunately, she won't be here with us today. But instead, we've got the beautiful, wonderful, talented, amazing Emily. Thank you for being here.
What an introduction.
Oh my god, bless.
So Emily, did you want to give a little introduction to yourself?
Yeah.
Who are you,
Who
Emily?
are you?
So
Sis.
I suppose I'm a music student, aspiring musician, artist, general artist. I don't know.
Who are you listening to at the moment?
Fave artist, top
I'm
three.
listening to Phineas, Billie Eilish's
Billie
bro.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
good.
he
He's
released
good.
a new EP and it's really good. And also East, she released a new song as well. Morat? I don't know.
Oh,
Bunch of
Morat's
Aussie
cool.
people too.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Who are you
very
guys
nice.
listening to?
Oh my god,
I know so many.
I'm obsessed right now
Mm.
with Kim Petras' new album. Like, it's just a Halloween-themed album.
Oh, that's cool.
Got that off vibe where like something's really eerie, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's so
I
good.
do love that kind of stuff.
It's so good. And there's so few Halloween albums.
I didn't even think that was like a thing. That is such a good idea because Halloween is way better than Christmas. If I'm being honest with
Exactly.
you.
It's
So much
underrated.
better, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, who are you listening to, Quinlan?
I was just looking at my Spotify because I'm listening to a lot. So
Wow.
I'm listening to Water Parks. I don't think you know who they are, but they're an American pop punk band, but they also experiment with a lot of different sounds.
Mm.
And I've been listening to Rule.
Oh yeah,
I'm
Rule's
like
great.
late to the train, late to
Great
the bandwagon.
voice,
but
fantastic
yeah,
voice.
and like I think he writes his own lyrics. You know when you can tell that someone writes their own lyrics and it's quite genuine. And all his music videos are really creative as well. He's only 16.
I know.
like a
Oh my
little
god, I
Australian
hate
baby.
it. I hate it. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, and I talked to Emily recently, but I didn't like Billie Eilish's album when I first listened to it, but I got back onto it recently, and it's been stuck on repeat
It's
for a
great.
lot.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
This is State of the Gay, a rundown of all the queer news. So yeah, over the last week or two, there's been quite a bit of like queer music that's been coming out.
Yes.
So let's discuss. Tell me, Quinlan, you wanted to talk about Hayley Kiyoko's music video.
Oh my god, not music videos, it's a
Just
song.
a song?
Yeah, she released a Halloween song. Have you
Wonderful.
heard it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, have you heard it?
No.
Oh shit.
But that's so
Alright.
great. I love that people are releasing
Yes,
Halloween music.
it's
That's
so
actually
cute.
fantastic.
Yeah, her new song is called Demons, and it's Halloween themed.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like it because she spoke about the lyrics
Demons?
portraying mental health.
Oh, okay.
So she's saying, like, I feel like we're always trying to progress, but we have these monsters inside of us who try to distract us from going forward.
Mm.
And that's
pretty real.
yeah, so that's why I really like the song, but she made it sound fun. It wasn't like some depressing kind of like stereotypical song. And obviously Hayley Kiyoko is known for being lesbian, and she's very active in the queer community. So
Yeah.
I like it.
That's
A
cool.
plus. It is really cool, yeah.
Like you were saying, Emily, like I love all these Halloween songs. They're so good.
It's something
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
It's something different.
And especially because like electropop would be perfect for Halloween because it's so. What's something that we all fear is automation and technology, like Terminator style
Yeah,
shit, right?
right.
And so having that like
Ah.
twisted, demented, cold, calculating feel of electropop, Judas as a full length album would be perfect.
The song Judas.
Yeah, the Lady Gaga song, like just have that.
Yeah. I think Halloween songs are a fantastic idea. I'm like super into that.
But speaking of Halloween albums, there's also the Kim Petras new album. It is called Turn Off the Lights. It is a follow-up from last year's Turn Off the Lights Part 1. She just released it all as one big album. So it's like half of it is new songs, half of it is songs that have already come out.
If you don't know, like Kim Petras is a trans artist, so
Mm.
male to female. I think she was the youngest person to go through transitioning.
Yeah, she was, I
in
think,
Germany.
14 or so. She was the youngest person to ever go through medical reassignment. I love her so much. She's so fucking good. It's so good. I don't think it's as good as last year's part,
The other second part isn't, yeah.
but I still think it's such a bop. There's so many good slappers in it. I love it so much.
Slappers.
Slappers,
If you're
yeah.
having a Halloween party, get Kim Petras on that playlist.
Woo.
Have you listened to it, Quinlan?
I listened to it all, yeah, when it came out. I feel like a lot of the songs kind of blended
Yeah.
together for me.
Blasphemy. I'm going to send you one song that you have to listen to on
I'm not
repeat.
listening to Kim Petras anymore.
Tell us why, Quinlan.
Oh, I saw Emily like a week ago or something, or 2 weeks ago. And because Emily does music, I always ask her musical questions. And I asked her if she listened to the Kim Petras Halloween album, and she said no. And I asked Oh, and then I assumed, I was like, oh, it's because she works with Dr. Luke still. And then Emily said yes. And then my response was, oh, but she's like a trans artist, like doesn't the good outbalance the bad? And Emily said no, because people should be held accountable for their actions no matter what the situation is, basically. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to me. Like, just because she is a trans artist doesn't mean she should get away with things. And I also thought about, like, it's so good to support her, but at the same time, if we keep supporting her and then she becomes big with Dr. Luke, he gets a free pass back into the pop industry. Because it's a note, like, most people know she works with Dr.
Yeah.
Luke. Like, he wrote the songs with her. It's not just like she got the songs from someone. Like, she personally worked with him. And she did, like, a half-assed apology about it when she got caught up in it, like, last year. So the more I think about it, the more it's at the forefront of my mind. And I can't really enjoy the music now when I play it. So that's the reason.
I know. I 100% agree. Very good, Emily. I am just so confused.
Thank you, Quinlan.
Why does she keep working with him?
I have, yeah, no idea.
He's a great artist. That music is really good.
Yeah.
I'm sure she could just like work. There are other producers, right? Like he's not the only good one, but she could like find other producers who haven't been accused of like sexual assault.
Maybe she's like caught in a contract or something.
Even like sometimes I think when you have a personal bond with someone, they could manipulate your perception of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and if she's working with him and they're really good friends and like he's been accused of all this stuff, first off, she might not actually believe it.
Yeah.
Even though there was all that. I mean, some people still don't believe it. And yeah, it's taken off. Yeah, she's put in a difficult position. She's getting great music out of it. They've got a great friendship out of it, potentially. I kind of understand, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the Harvey Weinstein argument as well, with like, do you support his films? And then people's arguments were, well, what about all the other people who were involved in the projects who do deserve that money? What about the actresses who went through those traumatic things and then still did the movies? And it's kind of like, well, it's all an evil, and if you stop supporting the evil, then it sets an example for everyone else. And even though other people will suffer, they'll get other jobs from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of my questions was actually, I went through Dr. Luke's entire discography. Discography. Oh god. Last night, and I realized that he has worked with so many artists that we all listen to. Like, he worked on Party in the USA with Miley Cyrus, and I was like, whoa, that's a song that I always still listen to. Like, will come on my shuffle, or if I'm in a club.
Every Thursday we listen to that. Yeah.
Every Thursday, yeah. And then he's worked with Katy Perry, Kesha, Pink, Doja Cat. That's an indie artist, but I really like her right now. And I didn't realize that she worked with him, and I was like, oh shit. Like, I went to a concert the other night, and the song he produced is my favorite song.
Oh no.
And I was thinking, so can I still listen to the past songs he's done from 2009 before the whole Kesha incident happened? Because every time you listen to that song, the 1 cent or the 5 cents will still go to his bank account.
Can I suggest a solution to your conundrum? So artists only get paid if you listen to 30 seconds of the song.
On Spotify.
On Spotify.
Listen to
So listen to 29 seconds and then put that on loop, like this constantly. So fuck you,
That's
Dr. Luke. You're never
hilarious.
getting paid for this.
But then also, if it's with Kesha, she's also not getting paid. So
So it's kind of like I think the Kesha thing makes sense because she's made that choice.
yeah.
But with other artists, it makes more sense not to listen to them.
In other queer music news, there is a new Harry Styles music video,
Lights Up.
Lights Up. I think it's a very good song. In the music video that accompanied it, they had Harry Styles basically in what looked like a big mosh pit
Like
of
a
like human
sea of-
flesh.
Yeah.
And there's just like one scene where there's a bunch of women just perusing through his nude body. And then the next scene, it swaps it to a bunch of men who are doing it. I know Harry Styles has come out in the past, or at least hinted that he's bisexual.
He's hinted. He's never explicitly come out.
And so this is like the clearest sign yet that, yes.
Or he's pansexual.
Or he's pansexual, or however he wants to choose to express himself. But yeah, good music.
And the lyrics of they sound like a coming out song when you listen to them. Like, he's talking about not looking back. He's talking about living his truth.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a queer anthem to me. And the music video obviously conveys that.
What do we both think of the music and the music video?
Can't really remember the music. I remember being like,
That's
oh
how
yeah,
clearly
that's good.
memorable it was.
Oh, I only listened to it once, man. Like, the music video, found it a bit bland. But I don't know. I prefer music videos with like a clear storyline and like something happening. Like,
Same.
You didn't like the mosh pit, just with
Never
green
played.
lights
I like
going on.
hardly. I was like just
Stimulate my brain.
Yeah, I was like, I'm watching this, but I'm not really taking it in because nothing's happening.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's just pretty lights and people.
just like, oh
basically.
my god, everyone thinks I'm hot. Like, that's great, man. We know that, but like, give me something else.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I agree with Emily. And also, I don't think the song is his best song. His first album has much more memorable stuff. I like the song, but it's not something that I'm going to remember. Like, I think in 2 weeks, I'll just be like listening to Hayley Kiyoko again.
But yeah, I'm really happy that like he's at least like being open with himself and being open with everyone else. Like obviously, boy bands are notorious for like censoring what people can say and do. Obviously, you see this with the K-pop industry now.
Oh,
But just like having someone who has like unshackled himself from the limitations of a boy band and is able to truly like express who he is and who he loves, I think that's wonderful.
and take a
Yeah, I love that.
completely like experimental route as well.
Mm.
Harry's kind of gone for this like pop glam rock.
But yeah, lots of queer artists, lots of mixed signals that we're getting, lots of mixed reactions.
Mixed reactions, controversy. It sells. It's Quinlan's Queer Conundrum.
Quinlan, every week we have one of your segments.
We do.
Please bless us with what you're talking about this week.
My holy words.
Your holy words.
Penis.
Bless up.
Penis!
Bless down.
Bless down. So my queer conundrum is: do straight artists have the right to portray queer culture within their art?
Explain.
So one good example is Macklemore's "Same Love." Like, great song. So many people, well, it became #1 globally, and I think after that, so many people got to see into the queer community and accept us more, I suppose I would say, because it kind of softens the blow for some people when they first learn about it. You know what I mean? Because it can be such a confronting thing with the way it's portrayed in media sometimes. But the problem I saw with it, or what I learnt from my course, was it was very heteronormative. Like, basically, gay people should only be accepted when they assimilate to heteronormative society. So Same Love is obviously about marriage. And in the music video and in the lyrics, they explain two men getting married and then having a heteronormative life. So is it...
What do you mean by heteronormative life?
Well, like, in the queer community, there's always a discussion, at least I've had with my friends, about why should we have to get married and be the same as everyone else, whereas in the it's a separate thing, but a lot of queer couples will, like, be a throuple, like, have a polyamorous relationship, or they want an experiment, or even before marriage, we were okay. We wanted marriage for legal rights. Like, if you wanted to visit your partner in the hospital, it wasn't for being heteronormative. It was more of a right. But I think because of this big explosion of gay marriage, well, equal marriage, it's kind of pushed us into this form of being similar to, like, straight people to be accepted, because they probably wouldn't accept us in any other way.
I mean, I kind of understand. When did Same Love come out?
Oh my god.
2012. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think, like, with that example, it was kind of like a step in the right direction.
Yes.
I think, especially for some... He's not queer, is he?
No, he's
No,
not.
not at all. So,
Very
you know.
much not.
So he hasn't got... He hasn't got that experience. He doesn't actually understand the culture as well as someone who is queer would. I think, like, whether or not it's okay kind of depends on whether or not it is beneficial to our community. In that instance, I think it probably was. For, like, you know, pros and cons. Pros probably outweigh the cons in this circumstance.
Yeah, I agree. I think the pros outweigh the cons. I guess the other example would be the Taylor Swift song, You Need to Calm Down. But what do you guys think of that song, like, You Need to Calm Down, and the intentions of the song? Especially with Taylor Swift's past of not being politically vocal.
I'm glad that she's getting political, but like, it's such an easy thing for her to do. I don't know, maybe she has gotten pushback, but like, saying you support people's right to be human beings is not a controversial statement. Or at least I don't think it should be. And it's way less like she's doing it now, when it's not that, like, it's still useful, but it's not the same as it would have been when in 2012 when Macklemore had his anthem of, like, Same Love, allowing people to, like, have an opportunity, especially in hip hop, because of all of the kind of
Homophobia,
ideas and
yeah.
prejudices within the genre. But like Taylor Swift coming out now and saying, "Yay, gay rights!" Like, it's not like a huge statement. And
It
I
was
don't-
after, like, marriage equality got passed in most Western countries as well. I think
Way
it's almost like she
after.
waited for it to happen to make sure it was safe.
Yeah, at the point where it's like the most bland statement.
Yeah. I think Taylor Swift is a calculated person because her political silence went on for a very long time.
Yeah,
And
but you got to think about the stuff that she went through as well. Like,
I don't really think about it because she's always been very safe. Like, I really like artists who did step up from the start. And I did defend Taylor Swift a lot when she was politically silent. And then after I realized the problem with it, I was like, oh, do I really, like, care about her that much that I would, like, defend her? Because people, like, I don't know, when I think about, like, Lady Gaga, when I think about Miley Cyrus, like, people who are very vocal, like, from the beginning as well. Like, from Miley Cyrus was with Disney when she supported gay people. Like, that's a massive thing for me. But for Taylor Swift to do this song, kind of like Dino's point, after all the progression has already happened, it's like she just joined the party when it was safe to me.
yeah.
And that's why when the song came out, I was like, oh, I rolled my eyes because I was like, this is so stereotypical. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is, I guess. Well, rather than see straight artists make art to support us, I'd rather see queer artists get pushed to the forefront of music because we've been pushed back so much. And I don't think a lot of big companies do want to take the risk of having queer artists in their mainstream music.
Well, actually, this week, I'd like to bring all of your attention to something.
What is it?
Queer metal music. I
Oh, I'm interested.
deeply love metal music. I got into it like midway through last year, and I've just been like listening through record to record.
Define, because metal is a very...
Like, heavy metal. Obviously, like metal has like so many subgenres. There's something called pirate metal, which is
Ooh, arr.
Arr. There's so many different subgenres to it.
Wait, can we do like a cute little joke? What's a pirate's favorite letter?
Arr.
You'd think so, but it's actually a love letter. But anyway,
So yeah, I've been getting into metal, like all different types of metal. But if you look at the history of metal, especially recently, there's been a lot of controversies around certain bands using Nazi imagery. Even the fan base tends to skew very masculine, tends to be very aggressive and angry. But throughout the history of metal, there have been constantly like laces of queer notoriety. So one of my favorite examples is Judas Priest, personally my favorite metal band. Their lead singer is a man named Robert Halford. Rob Halford is known for having this incredibly amazing, versatile voice. And he also came out in the early 90s as gay, right? He was one of the first
I did not
openly
know that.
gay artists, right? Judas Priest is this huge band, and then he came out as gay. One of the kind of interesting notes about this band, though, is that if you think about what comes to your mind when you think like what do most metal fans wear? Like what's kind of
Leather, spikes, platforms.
uh-huh.
Oh.
right? So
Gay.
So Rob Halford was deeply interested in the leather scene, yeah? And in the 1970s, when they were like making it big, when they were like releasing albums, they used to wear a lot of leather. He got the whole band to wear a lot of leather.
Did he inspire that?
Interesting.
Yes. So he was one of the key people to bring in, to at least popularize leather being used in metal.
Kinky leather daddy.
So there's another moment from a band called Accept, right? They're a German heavy metal band. Again, they released some absolutely amazing music. And in one of their most famous albums, it's called Balls to the Wall. It was written by the manager's wife, all the lyrics were. So a lot of the songs in that album have a feminist perspective, right? They talk about abuse and things like that. One of the songs, it's called Love Child. One of my favorite songs from the album. It's about a young boy having to come to terms with his sexuality. And it's really good. Like the lyrics just make it. Like the actual melody is fantastic, but also just like the lyrics and listening to him, just like he constantly is questioning like he's falling in love with this man. Like, is he a man or is he a woman? And like just constantly the internal struggles of him. And when the album came out, it was in the 1980s, 1983. Huge controversy, obviously, because they thought that this was like the band coming out. They weren't. All the band members were straight. They just thought this was a really interesting subject matter. And again, this was in the midst of the AIDS crisis.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 80s, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not a good time to be gay.
No, not fun.
And so it's so amazing just to see these tiny moments. And even now, like you look at, there are queer metal artists, but most of them tend to fall into like punk or like post-punk kind of genres.
Yeah.
Few of them openly call themselves metal artists. And it is because of all of this history and baggage that is associated with the genre. And yet there are all these small glimmers of like amazing things that happen when like the subcultures get to merge together.
That's so cool. Yeah.
That is really cool. Wow. Because I never thought about metal in that way. I always thought about it as like a masculine, heterosexual
A lot of it is, but
There are these glimmery moments.
and even
where-
just like glam metal, like you've seen like that's always like over the top. Like hair metal is like again giant hairdos
Yeah,
and things like that.
true.
So there's a constant like infusion of the cultures, but there's never been this like explicit. Yes, this is for queer people. It's only now that you're starting to see some artists actually acknowledge it.
Well, a lot of the time, like, I think this is a known fact in the queer community, but straight people take things from us and make it their own, as if they
It's
created
the
it.
same.
When they
Cultural
did, but-
appropriation.
Exactly.
It's the same thing, but like
And I
can
don't-
be good, can be bad.
Yeah, it depends how they kind of do it. If they like give credit to us, or if they just take it and they're like, "I did it."
And it's normalizing that
Yeah,
kind of stuff as well, which is
It
kind
is.
of nice sometimes.
But yeah, that's my fun fact for the world to know.
love it, daddy. Hey everyone! So today we have Emily as our special guest, and Emily is a friend of mine I've known for a while, and she's a queer musician, and she's currently studying music, and she's coming into her own. So Emily, do you want to tell us a bit about the music you're creating, who you are as an artist, and like how you kind of came, well, why you decided to become an artist, I suppose, like, yeah, where it all began.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I've always kind of dabbled in music, and it's just kind of been, an interest of mine since I was a little kid. But I never thought I'd be like watching people perform or like doing all the stuff and like music videos, and I was like, fuck, I wish that could be me. Like, that's awesome. Like, but that's not for me. And then I was like, one day I was like, well, why not? Because I'm not putting in the grind. So now I'm putting in the grind. Yeah, I'm releasing music under the name Mouk, Mouk, with a full stop on the end. It's important. I haven't got that much music out yet. I think I'm still finding my voice. But the kind of music that I am releasing is kind of like a pop rock. There's some like dark indie stuff, a little bit of electronic, but not really. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where I go.
It's very experimental at the moment. I'm
Yeah, we'll
assuming.
figure it out.
Yeah. And you identify as same-sex attracted lesbian as well.
Yeah.
And that would influence your music a lot.
Yeah, I think like for me, being explicitly queer in my music is very important. I think that visibility is very important. Growing up, I mean, I was lucky. I never had to come out to my family. I don't have a coming out story because I never did. I just was. And I'm so, so grateful for that. Like, honestly, I'm so privileged to be brought up in a family where it didn't really matter. And, thank you, Mum and Dad, for creating that space for me. And I think that that's given me an advantage over a lot of people. I think, yeah, as well, when I was growing up, like I've had people come up to me in the club, like people from high school being like, oh my God, you were so cool. Like I just always looked up to you and I just thought that you were like this cool out lesbian and you really helped me like be comfortable with who I am. And that was just from being who I am. So I think that like visibility in my music is like super important. I mean, like I write a lot of love songs. Not necessarily. I write a lot of songs about girls and I write half of them are love songs, half of them breakup songs. Yeah, sprinkled in a couple of like weird things. But I just want to normalize it, Like I don't want it to have to create this positive image of being a queer woman because sometimes I'm not so positive. Sometimes I am nasty. Sometimes there is bad breakups. Sometimes there's been girls that have been nasty to me. Like it's just the same as anybody else. And I think that it's really important to, be genuine with your delivery. And I think there's not enough queer artists that are big and visible and there for the rest of the community to see yet. And I want to be one of those.
I like that you said you wanted to be very raw and transparent, basically, about the lyrics you write and the messages that you portray.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been a big discussion with how queer people release their music and or their films, on how queer stories are told. And I feel like we've gotten to this kind of point, I know definitely in film, where queer people are kind of demanding all the stories to be happy and bright and like basically flawless, where if that happens, then people aren't going to see our lives for what they really are. They're just going to see a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that you said you wanted to be raw because life isn't a cookie-cutted pastry. Like
yeah,
it's,
absolutely not.
yeah. And if it's all a fairy tale, then people are just going to be like, well, queer people are like that kind of stereotype. We're so cute and we're
Yeah.
basically an accessory for them to escape their lives.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, I don't want to be a stereotype and I don't want to perpetuate any stereotypes. And, like, I think in the film industry, more so than the music industry, there's kind of, like, you just kind of take whatever content you can get because we're so starved for content. Like, our stories aren't told. So people are just taking whatever they can. I don't know if people really do it with music. Maybe they do it as well. They'll just listen to queer music because it's queer. But I think we're at a point where we can do better than that. And we need stuff to be queer and be good, not just be queer content. So we take it because it's queer content.
No, 100%.
You know?
Yeah, agreed.
You were saying like what kind of music you make. What kind of influences that you listen to as a young girl that shaped your music now?
Ooh, Emily Autumn. She's bi. She's
Ooh, okay. I've never
Yeah.
heard of her.
ooh, it's really cool. Like industrial kind of stuff. There's some
Right.
kind of like harpsichord and like orchestral shit. Like really cool. I've written a song. It's not out yet. It's called Red. And then I went back and I listened to Emily Autumn recently, and I was like, oh, there is so much of her in this song. I was like, yeah, cool. Amanda Palmer.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
great. Yeah, bi lady. Like, I was an emo kid. Like, let's be honest. A lot of us were.
I think a lot of queer people liked emo music because it was so expressive and so against mainstream society.
Yeah.
And was very like colorful and dark.
Can I guess some artists?
Yeah, I guess so.
My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, yeah.
Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fall Out Boy?
No,
Ooh,
that was
really?
my brother's band, so I was like, I'll just let him have that one. Yeah.
The Veronicas.
Who didn't? Come on. Still listen to them today, every week in the club. I mean, like, I think I lightened up as I got older. I do listen to a lot of pop now, which
Don't
is
we
a
all?
thing.
Pop is
Yeah.
amazing.
Pop is good. Going to a music school, there's a lot of people that do not like pop.
Like pretentious.
I'm definitely, the minority in that
That
basket.
sucks.
But I don't know, like,
Pop is so hard to define now as well.
yeah, everyone thinks it's really simple and boring, and I'm like, but if you listen to all the elements of production in it, and like, it's a particular art to be creating catchy tunes that like get stuck in your head. I think it's really cool. I think pop music's awesome.
Especially because you're not just targeting a specific group of people who may already like this music. You have to appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
It's such a different type of like knowledge and expertise than just making something that's niche and for a specific group of people. And so, how do you start writing music? Do you start with lyrics or just like an idea, a feeling that you have, or do you say, no, this is a melody that I've been tinkering around in my head for a while. You write it down and then you jot down lyrics afterward.
For me, I do it in a way that I perceive as more difficult, but it's the way that it happens for me. I think what's easiest is if you come up with like harmony and like the chord progression first, and then you can hum a melody over it, and then you pop the lyrics on top. That's the way that it gets done the quickest. But for me, I'm coming up with ideas and feelings. I feel in extremes. So I'm writing down whatever I'm feeling pretty much all the time. I think every day I'll have another couple of lines or whatever. Just in my notes, I have like, I don't know how many notes, too many notes to even read through. And so my lyrics come first, and I try to put them into a song later. I find it difficult to work the other way around, because then I've got too many syllables, I've got too many rhymes, I've got like all this stuff. I shouldn't do that. I should just put the general feeling down and then write the music on top.
And so, how do you feel being a queer artist and navigating the music industry? Have you experienced any like troubles, or has it been like smooth sailing thus far?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of just getting into it. Like, I only got into music about 2 years ago, but I can imagine there would be a little bit of difficulty. I feel like not so much anymore. I feel like I'm pretty lucky to be born when I was born. And I think that I can use it to my advantage because the kind of people that I want to be around are the kind of people that want to be around me. And I think, being visibly queer is appealing to a lot of people that I will want to be listening to my music. Hopefully it won't be an issue, but I guess we'll see. You guys will have to interview me again when I'm famous. And,
But also these days, I feel like you can find fame with a niche audience like Troye Sivan, Hayley, Kiyoko, Kim Petras. They all have very niche gay audiences, and they still, I feel like they still rake in a lot of money, and they're still world renowned just on a queer audience scale rather than like a Taylor Swift or Miley Cyrus kind of scale.
yeah, that's just that's the community that we've been born into, and it's inevitable that that's going to be my target audience, and, I'm okay with that.
This is a follow-up to the question that I had before about navigating the industry as a queer artist. Do you find it, on the flip side, as being a woman, do you find it that to be more difficult?
I find that, more difficult than being queer. Oh, like when I'm at uni, you'll go there, and so there's a lot of female vocalists, but there's not a lot of female guitarists. I don't think there's any female drummers that I've seen. But it's difficult, and because like people don't really take you that seriously. There is like the stereotype of like what a band should be, and most of the time it's just men, and it's just kind of like they're loud and rowdy, and like it's not the same if a girl does it. If she's loud and rowdy, then it's just kind of like, oh, she's bossy.
There's a different set of like expectations that you're put under.
And even then, like, there's just no pathway for you. And I'm not even taking that like overly sexual path either, which like I was gonna say there's nothing wrong with that. Like sometimes there's something wrong with that, but like anyone that chooses that path, good on you. I can't do it. I'm not that kind of person. I haven't got that kind of body. And like the music industry now is not just about how good your music is. It's about how good your personality is. And it's how you portray yourself, and it's your social media, and it's all of that. So it's just kind of like not creating personality for yourself, but exaggerating your own personality in a way that's appealing to other people. And I think that it's hard to get that fun, silly personality as a woman and be taken seriously as well. And like being a queer woman and the type of queer woman that I am, I'm just going to have to hold on tight to that and be that, and hopefully people like it. And if they don't, whatever. I'm just going to keep doing it anyway because it's what I like.
Yeah, because you have to, basically, you're marketing yourself
Yeah.
alongside your music.
Yeah.
Because I read an interesting article I sent to both of you, and it was about how people like Madonna and Michael Jackson, they didn't really market their personalities. They marketed themselves as like kings and queens, like they were above people. But now the new generation, Generation Z, they want people who they can relate to, who can be their best friend. Very much about being accepted as a person, like a personality, but someone who is like the audience rather than above them, rather than like a celebrity type of thing, I suppose. There's different ways of looking at it, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask something that's off topic, but
Yeah.
most of the time we assume that making art is a way of letting our issues out and a way of dealing with mental health. And then I read an article about why that can be negative and why you can get sucked into your emotions and into the bad thoughts that you've had in your experiences because you're focusing so much on it. And I wanted to ask, what's your experience been with diving into the difficult topics that have happened in your life with songwriting and creating all the instruments that have to go along with that? Like, has it been therapeutic for you, or has it caused more trauma?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For me, music's like therapy, you know. I think I had a lot of trouble as a kid and through like my first relationship being able to express myself. And so I was writing all this stuff, and a lot of stuff that I had been writing has become my song lyrics. And I think that to get better from a traumatic experience, you need to go through it and work through it and understand it. And I think that has really helped me being a songwriter. There has been times where I don't want to finish writing a song because I just don't have the emotional energy to go through that feeling again. But when I finish writing a song, you feel so much better and you feel lighter and you feel like, okay, well, this is that feeling and this is that moment and this is it expressed, not physically, but now I have it, you know, like it just exists and it's acknowledged and now I can let it go. There was, after my breakup with my ex, who's now a very good friend of mine, I wrote this song called Simple. It's about that moment of knowing that something's over but not wanting to let it go. And I wrote that song, and as soon as I finished it, I was like, I actually don't feel that way anymore. And now it's done, and now it's gone, and I acknowledged it, and now it's over. Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten too caught up in it. Like, once a song is finished for me, once it's written, then it becomes work. It just becomes, something else that you can be proud of, for the most part. I guess when you're singing it, you can kind of like tap into that feeling, but it's different because it's kind of like you're reflecting on it and you're saying, that's what I've been through and I'm proud of it, you know, like.
For someone who wants to listen to Mouk for the first time, what are some songs that you would recommend them to like ease them in?
Oh, my music or
Yeah.
other people's music?
Your music.
Mine. Oh, I've only got 3 songs on SoundCloud at the moment, but another one's coming real soon. My first song that I put up there, Damaged Goods, that's honestly doesn't end very well, but like the production wise, but it's such a genuine song. It's about coming from an abusive relationship and being afraid of becoming an abuser through being a victim. If you want something deep, that's your one. If you want like a petty breakup rock song, Lemon Lime Bitters is the way to go. If you like pop, the new one that's coming out, Ready to Lose, it's going to be a good one.
Amazing. And where can people find your music?
At the moment, just on SoundCloud. So MOUK full stop, and you'll find me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to us today at 2.5 Gays. My name is Dino, and
I'm Quinlan.
Emily,
Emily has been with us. Thank you so much for coming today, Emily.
thank you.
You can follow us on social media at Instagram, and the Instagram handle is Quinlan.
2 half gays.
You can also find us on Facebook at 2.5 Gays. You can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find good podcasts.
Good quality.
Good, high-quality podcasting.
High fiber.
High fiber. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening.
And don't forget to follow Emily on her social medias.
Mhm.
Yeah, MOUK full stop.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next.
Love's in the air, and my heart's on my sleeve. I'm losing my breath over every girl I see. I'm falling hard for the idea of you and me. Blow a kiss out to you to get caught in the breeze. Let's get too close, warm in the afterglow. True hearts exposed. I'd love to let you go. There's a thrill to the chase. I want your embrace. You don't know how good you feel. Put your hands on my waist, pull me closer, babe. Let me pretend this is real. Long nights turn to shorter days.